I'm going to be doing an overview of the gear that I took on my get home bag trip. As many of you know, if you've been watching my videos for a while, I'm not into gear. I generally use what's available to me, and sometimes that means using things that I found, scrounged, made. I don't always use the most ideal things, items, and so I'm not much of a gear nut, but I know that a lot of you guys are, or would like to know what other people use for gear. So this is going to be a quick video on my gear. Well, actually, this will be a video on the gear in my get home bag, and an overview of my thoughts in using it in a get home situation. For my get home situation, I hiked home 15 miles cross country for the most part. It was very mountainous and rugged, and mostly all of it was out in our mountains, in our forests. It took me 3 days and 2 nights to get home. For one, because I am out of shape, and the other just because it's such rugged terrain. And it took me a while to get home, and also because I was filming the entire trip, so that takes up a lot of time to do that. So that's my excuse why it took me 3 days to go 15 miles. Since I had planned on making sure that this was a 3-day trip, I definitely took some food out of the stash that I keep in my truck. I've always, in my truck, I've got a gallon of water, I've got cans of food, just different tools and axe and different things that I keep in there, because I use them. I use them often, and just in case. If I have to spend the night anywhere, pretty much I don't have to pack up my truck. My truck is ready to go. So I think this is most all the gear I brought with me. I'm going to break it up into 2 different sections. One is, there's a yellow jacket, go away. One is my get home bag gear, and the other is gear in my truck, which I keep in there all the time. Okay, let's go over my knife to begin with. This is just a knife that I literally found in the garbage. But it's a cool knife. It says Schrade. If I can get this to focus. It says Schrade Walden, New York, USA 147. It's an older knife. I don't know exactly how old, but it's very sharp. And it worked great. It worked great. This is my Ruger Mark II target model, and I had planned on using this if I came across a rabbit or a squirrel or anything like that, and I didn't really have an opportunity to use it until right before I got home, and I ran across a digger squirrel, and since I was next to home, my trip was almost over, I didn't feel the necessity to use it. But I do, for a get home situation, I would carry a pistol, and I usually have a pistol of some kind on me anyways. For my get home situation, I keep 2 magazines and 50 rounds I take with me. It's a toss-up between my Ruger 1022 rifle and this one. The rifle is easier to get game with, but the pistol is more concealable, and that was my main concern, because I did have to cross some private property, and I did not want to look like I was out, I didn't want it to advertise that I had a firearm. So that's why I chose the pistol. And it's still a very accurate weapon. My little Fisker's axe. This is the thing I got from Busy Can Do Greg. I did paint the handle so it wouldn't stick out so much. This works awesome. I use this axe like crazy. I have used it a lot, and I have used this on my trip. I mean, I cut down all kinds of stuff. I used it for all sorts of things. I sharpened it to shaving sharpness before I left. It outperformed itself. So, anyhow, and that's what I got. I won this. Thanks, Greg. Just my belt. Just the belt that I always keep my pistol in. A flashlight. These are just cheap Costco flashlights. LED flashlights. I'm not super impressed with them. They kind of, when they start to die, they fade. It's nothing fancy. I think I paid like $8 for 3 of these. But whatever. I throw them under the seat of my truck, and you're good to go. What else do we got? The other important item. I have a water filter, and I cannot stress the importance of a good water filter. Now, I did spend some money on this one, because being able to immediately procure water, to me, is invaluable. I can instantly get water out of anything. I try to use clean as water as possible, but you know, I can use my handkerchief to filter out mud and sediment, but I try to use as clean as water as possible, and this lasts a lot longer. So I did pay, goodness, I paid $80 for this thing? I don't remember what it was. It's a Katadyn Hiker Pro is what it is. I love it. I absolutely love it. I had a Katadyn older one, and it eventually fell apart after years and years, decade of use. And this one, it filters water in, you can fill up this in less than, oh goodness, less than 60 seconds you can fill up a water bottle. And you got water, instant water. I've done survival trips where I have to boil the water or use other methods. And you just can't go wrong. You just cannot go wrong. I love it. Absolutely love it. And I know there's different models out there, but and I don't know about them, but I do know that mine worked really, really good. Anyways, get all that out. I carried 2 water bottles, a stainless one so that I could boil things, cook things if I have to, and then just a general water bottle. I don't keep this one full, and I do keep this one full. This gives me a head start on having water. And then with my water filter, I can fill this one up. It's like I didn't fill this up at first because I didn't want to carry the weight, because the first hike up to the ridge was extremely strenuous for this fat boy. And I didn't want the weight. And actually I kind of ended up regretting it. I carry flossers because dirty teeth drives me nuts. A pen to write things with, and a handkerchief, which most everybody carries of some kind or another. Here's some little doohickeys. The main source of fire for me is lighters, and you can keep your stupid ferro rods. A lighter, boom, instant fire. I don't have to make tinder. I don't have to have Vaseline soda-soaked cotton balls or dryer lint or anything. Look at flame, instant flame. I always carry one in my pocket at all times. These are 2 spares, and I keep them in a Ziploc bag so they stay dry. You know, these are cheap. I got them 5 for $1 at Walmart or something like that. Anyhow, but I do have a ferro rod in case these fail. In case all 3 of my lighters fail. I carry toilet paper. This is from MREs. This is toilet paper. Well, I don't need to explain what I use it for. But it sure beats using a rock to scrape anyways, we won't go any further into details there. Compass. I used a compass. I was going through some unfamiliar territory, and honestly, ooh, I don't have my map. Anyway, I did use a map. I didn't show using it because this was not a video about maps. It was about get-home bags. And I could have made it home, but since I went a little longer and in a different way than I normally would, it required the use of a map. Anyways, at any rate, I still use the compass. This is a small fishing kit that I have. It's just a roll of 12-pound test line and a small thing of hooks and weights and lures, because there's numerous ponds and creeks in our area, so it's a great source of food. This is a bag of paracord, 550 cord, whatever you want to call it nowadays. I don't know what you call it. Anyways, it's just a roll of cord. Got my little New Testament here for reading. Not much extra weight, and good to have along. And I keep my stuff, especially stuff that I don't want to get wet, in Ziploc bags, heavy-duty Ziploc bags. Man, you can't go wrong with Ziploc bags. They're cheap, and they keep your stuff dry. Goodness, that cricket is noisy. An extra pair of socks. If your feet don't work, or if you have problems with your feet, you're done. If you can't walk, you're done. Take care of your feet. So I carry these. I haven't even watched these yet. What I did with my socks is I would dry one out over the fire at night, and I'd rotate them. That way I always had a dry pair to put on in the morning. This is a really cool bag I got from, what is it, Mal 1982? Anyways, Malcolm. It's waterproof, and I use it to keep my long johns in. At nighttime, when you have no activity and you're just laying there, long johns are a lifesaver. Without my long johns, I would have been even colder than I was already. And I keep them in a big Ziploc bag, and I stuff this in my little pouch here I got. And it works great for a seat. I used it a lot for a seat cushion to sit down because the ground everywhere I went was wet. It worked really good for that purpose. For that porpoise. What else? I'll do my food last. I just had a wool blanket. I always have 2 or 3 wool blankets in my truck. And, well, I don't need to go into all the benefits of wool, but it's one of the Italian Army wool blankets. And I just put a strap over it, threw it over my, well, if you watch my video, you'll see how I carried it. I just carried it like that. And then you'll also see in my video, if you haven't seen it already, I kept my water bottle and my water filter in here, just like that. And I put the strap around it so that I could instantly access it and instantly keep my water bottle topped off whenever I started to get down on water. And that worked really good. Well, oh, food. Alright, now we're down to food. In my pack, I keep a couple things of food. I have a thing of sunflower seeds, because I like sunflower seeds. I didn't even finish all my dried plums up, but I dried a bunch of plums. And I'll tell you what, man, these are so good. Oh my word. Anyhow, I had some of those. And then for the main food, I have a bag that I keep sealed up so I don't devour it. And it has pecans, jerky, and hardtack in it. And I could go for a couple days on this stuff. Now, I chose not to. I didn't even finish this up, mainly because I'm kind of running low on jerky, and I didn't want to have to make more for a simple test. What I did is I used food out of my truck, mainly. I ate 1 can a day, but we'll get to that later. I had 2 little tiny Snicker bars and 2 little tiny bags of M&Ms. They're like Halloween candy or something like that. And while these don't provide you with much energy and good stuff, they do provide you with a good warm fuzzies in your heart, in your soul. It's good to have something that tastes really good. Comfort food? Something. Anyhow, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna restock this. I have some more. I'm gonna restock it and put it in a new sealed pouch and put it back in my get home bag. And that's the main. Oh, one more. I also have a cup that I can boil tea in, and that is one thing I wish I would have brought is some Earl Grey tea, because that would have really been nice. I mean, I could have made hemlock tea or pine needle tea or whatever, but I had a real, especially in the mornings when it was stinking freezing, it would have been nice to have some Earl Grey in the morning. Alright, moving along. My bag is nothing special. I even did a video on my bag once. I found it in the garbage also. I had to start sewing it up because it's starting to fall apart. It's not the best, highest quality bag. But, you know what? It didn't cost me a dime. So I don't care. Oh! The other things that were in my bag was I had 2, I think these are 45-gallon, 3 mil thick garbage sacks. And these are the thicker ones. I used these were invaluable. The ground, and maybe it's not so important in the summertime or in other parts of the world, but in the Pacific Northwest, everything's wet almost all the time. So this was invaluable to keep dry at night. One of them I cut open. You'll see in the video. Maybe, I think so. Anyhow, I cut it open like that, so that I would have a nice big ground cloth. I even burned it a little bit. Nice big ground cloth. So I use this for one part and this for another, and I left this one whole so that I could use it as a poncho if I needed to. It was supposed to rain, and it sprinkled a little bit, but not enough to have to actually cut a hole in the bottom and slip this over my body so that I can run around looking like a garbage sack. Thankfully, I didn't have to do that. But that's why I left this one whole. And I also, I used this to put the fire out of the first night. My fire kind of got out of control. And I'll probably explain it in the video. But it got out of control, and there was some good-sized mud puddles, and so I went down to the road, and I scooped up water in these. And this wouldn't have worked with a thinner bag. So I was glad I had brought these thicker bags. But I filled this with as much water as I could, carried it back up the hillside to my camp, and used it to make sure the fire was out. 2 items I carry with me all the time. These are not in the get-home bag. These are in my pocket. Pocket knife and a lighter. Duh. Way to make fire and a way to cut things. And I always carry my Leatherman. I do that. Do? I do that. I do that. Do. Anyhow, I grabbed 3 cans of food out of my truck. I ate 1 can of food a day, and whatever the rest was supplemented by this stuff. And it worked. It was fine. I lost probably about 5 pounds in 3 days, but I could afford to lose it. So I keep my hat in my truck. Felt hat. I brought my felt hat. Works good in the rain. Keeps you warm. Keeps the sun off your head. And I always keep it in my truck. Great thing to have along. I had a knit hat too, and you'll see it in the video, but I left it somewhere. I'm going to have to trace some of my route. I think I know roughly where I put it, or where I left it, but I lost it up in the woods. I keep an extra sweatshirt in my truck. This is my threadbare one, which is, it's a good sweatshirt, and I'd hate to get rid of it. But anyhow, I do keep that in my truck all the time. And that's about it, other than my camera and the tripod. And honestly, this would have gone really well. This would have been perfect, except for having to carry my stupid tripod and my camera. I really need a lighter tripod. This was my grandpa's. I think it's from the 60s. and it's bulletproof, and it's awesome, and it works really good, but it weighs quite a bit. I put a little sling on it. And it's just, it works great, but it's heavy. And my camera, my ever-present camera, this goes with me everywhere. So anyhow, that about covers it. My walking staff that I made out of an incense cedar. I think that about covers all the things I brought. That gives you a rough idea of what I brought. Hope that didn't go on too long and make it too boring, but I don't know what else to say. There it is. There you have it. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed my journey. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Survival Mike, I think it was a most excellent idea of you to challenge people to use their get-home bag in a real situation. Use the get-home bag to get home. Now, I know that I didn't have to take 3 days through forest, but I wanted to do it anyways. It was a fun trip. I've wanted to take that route for a couple years now, several years. And I finally did it. And I did it using my get-home bag. And I know different people's situations vary. Your items might be a lot different than mine because I'm out in the country. And a lot of what I do is cross-country. You know, over the hills and in the woods. And what in the world? What's with you guys? You guys just bark at the wind. Anyhow, hey, enough of that. Anyhow, I think it's a great idea. I think your challenge was a great idea. A lot of people talk, very few people walk. So, anyhow, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed looking at my stuff. Bushcrafting doesn't have to be expensive. And you can do it. Bushcrafting can be cheap. I would say there's a couple items that you might want to spend some money on. But overall, it doesn't require a lot of money. And don't be daunted by all the fancy gear that people have. Anyhow, I'm rambling on and on and on. I really enjoyed this. Really, really, really enjoyed this. It was good and a much needed vacation from my hectic life. So, I think that's about it.